Auto Racing Podcast. And my guest this week, and I'm telling you, when you talk about Canadian racing legends, this man is at the top of the list. Horst Kroll. Horst won the last Can-Am Championship in 1986, had a young Paul Tracy driving for him in the same race, and we'll talk about that in a few moments. You have won Formula V championships, hill climb championships, under 2-liter sports car championships, and in 1968 you were the Canadian driving champion. And next weekend at Motorsport, at the Vintage Auto Racing Varac Auto Racing Vintage Festival, which is also the 40th anniversary of F1 in Canada, you are coming out of retirement to drive a Can-Am car at Motorsport. In tribute to the late Jim Paulson, the Motorsport announcer who died a couple of months ago, and a man who interviewed you many times in Victory Lane, congratulations, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much.
Now, how fast you going to go next Saturday when you're out there?
Well, I think it's up to the organizer to let me go as fast as I want to go.
Okay.
But I don't think it's going to be a record kind of thing, because I'm driving on tires that are 15, 20 years old.
Right.
I'm going to have to tiptoe around. And I think what they have planned on doing is having me together with the production cars that are coming out that weekend for a pleasure drive.
Kind of a parade.
A parade, yes.
And you kind of hope that everybody waves and you'll be waving back?
Just stay out of the way, stay to one side of the road, and I don't want to set the world on fire, to be honest with you. I don't have to do that in Motorsport anymore.
Well, no, because you set enough records back in your younger days when you were really being competitive. Now, very quickly, you came over from Germany in the early 1960s to work for Volkswagen Canada as a Porsche mechanic.
Yes.
And you were actually sent over basically by the Porsche Motor Company, right?
Yes, from the factory they sent me over here to sort of do something for their cars and their product, and I plan to stay for 3 years, and it's been 45 years now.
It just never went back and became a Canadian auto racing institution.
Correct.
Now, you know, I love this part of your story. You went to Volkswagen Canada, really, you didn't know anybody in the country, and you wind up living in a rented house in Scarborough with a whole bunch of other German-Canadian auto racing legends. Rattle off some of these. Ludwig Heimrath?
Yes. Ludwig Heimrath, Klaus Bartels, Ben Pon, Peter Ryan, as you probably know, a Canadian famous racing driver, and a whole bunch of others that have been involved with our racing program.
And the amazing thing is that literally all of you went off to become great champions. What was it, something in the air of Scarborough that you were breathing in those days?
Well, I don't know whether it was the air, but everybody, we were friends, and we were trying to be competitive,
right.
Even off the track, trying to be competitive and have the best prepared car for whoever we were working for. And
right.
In my case, it was Klaus and Mr. McCarthy, which I sort of serviced their cars, and one day they were not happy with the performance, and they threw the helmet in the car and says, you try yourself, which I didn't have a license, nothing, but I did go out, and everybody was going crazy in the pits. So I said, what in earth is going on? I come in and they said, you were going faster than the guys himself.
And so that was when you decided that you could become a racing driver. I mean, this is really a fabulous part of your story, was that you're simply a mechanic, no interest really in racing, and it just this crazy one-off moment where, okay, let's see what you can do, and bingo.
That's the start of my racing career. Yes.
Now, I don't want to do all the talking, which seems to be a problem when I do these podcasts. But you know, the thing that's amazing about you is that you did all of this yourself. You did the mechanical work on your own cars. You towed your cars to the track. You were your own pit crew.
Yes.
And it wasn't just at Motorsport and Harewood Acres and Saint-Eugene and Saint-Eustache, rather, and Le Circuit and the Canadian tracks. You would go to California by yourself.
By myself, with the truck and trailer. Got to the track and needed some help to unload my car. And waved to some guys, and can you give me a hand? Oh, yes. And then that's how it started. If you want to be part of my team this weekend? Yeah, of course. And that's how I picked up my crew. Every track is the different people.
Absolutely amazing. And so you'd go to Manitoba maybe one year, and these people would help you out, and the next year you'd go back, and they're waiting to help you.
Correct.
And you know what? You didn't have to pay any of them.
I didn't. No, they were happy to be part of this thing.
I know.
And
it didn't cost you a cent.
exactly.
And now you're running a business, Kroll Auto Repair.
Kroll's Auto Service Limited in Scarborough.
Okay, which is still there today.
Still there today.
Right at Highland Creek Village.
Yeah.
And but you would leave and maybe drive for 2 days. Then you would leave the car there and fly home to keep running the business.
And go back again for the next race, which would probably be somewhere else in California.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely amazing.
Yes.
I mean, I race myself, and I know how you have to do that sometimes, but you kind of hope to kind of go with a couple of people in case you have some trouble on the road or.
Yeah, fortunately enough, I was preparing the car myself, and I just needed helpers to do my helping work. So the mechanical stuff, it was always done by myself.
Right.
And
in fact, you became a little famous in England one time. You went over to buy a Lola Formula 5000 car, ran a race at Orton Park, and went off the track, and all of a sudden you become famous because...
Well, I went off the track because we had no rear wing on the car. Lola wasn't prepared to have it ready for me on time. So I went off the track, and my front radiator got full of grass and so on. I stopped in the paddock, got out of the car with my helmet on, cleaned the car from the outside, and it was all on television. That was the first Formula 5000 race in England, and the Brits really liked that. They said, this is fantastic, and jumped back into the car and rejoined this thing, and I think finished 5th or 6th or something like that. I don't know.
But everybody else wheels into the pits and has these people helping them.
Absolutely.
You get out, crawl underneath or whatever you're doing.
I think they've never seen this before.
No, absolutely. Now, we got to jump ahead a little bit because we could talk forever with all of these little stories. You became very involved in the Can-Am series in the late 70s. You didn't have a lot of success until all of a sudden one day you had sponsorship from the Chipwich ice cream sandwich people. How did that come about?
Well, there was a good friend of mine, David Stone, who was working for Motorsport at the time. He knew somebody named Brad Brown who was in PR, and then one day he called me and he says, I may have a sponsor for you. And I says, oh my God, first one in my life.
Yeah.
And it came through, and it made me from a 15th overall runner into a third place runner from then on, and it was fantastic.
And the thing is, essentially, they bought engines for you.
Yes.
From Canadian Tire or from no, it was from Paul Newman.
I bought 2 engines, or they bought 2 engines from Paul Newman Racing.
Right.
Yes. And
you got to know Paul a little bit.
And I got to know Paul, and then we're friends now. Yes.
Right.
Not from the movie business, but from the racing car business.
Yeah, that's right. And you got some new chassis from Canadian Tire.
I bought the promotional car that Canadian Tire used for their racing capacity, and the deal came up, and I said I might as well buy it and fixed it up, and then I rented it out to people like Paul Tracy and Jacques Villeneuve and a few others.
Right. And of course, in '86 was kind of the pinnacle of your career. This is the big sports car international championship, the Can-Am series, and you'd been sneaking up on it. I think in '84 you were third, in '85 you were second in the championship, in '86 you're going to win. It comes down to the last race.
Last race.
And you got Tracy driving for you.
Yeah, and Paul was amazing. He got into a car that he's never known before. But we know Paul. If he wants to be only number one.
Right.
So he was driving ahead of me with competing with Bill Tempero at the time, and he went off the track twice already. And I said, "Oh my God, here's Paul wrecking my car." Anyhow, Bill Tempero dropped out, and it was Paul and I running first and second. I said, I might as well just take it easy. Let him win the race. It's my car. It's my team. And when I finish, I won the championship.
And all you had to do in that last race was finish fifth or better.
Fifth or better.
To wrap up the championship.
Correct.
That was the highlight of your career.
It was absolutely the highlight of my career, yes.
And did you do a little celebrating with Mr. Tracy?
No, Paul is not that kind of guy. Once he won the race, he left and goodbye and see you later.
Yeah, I know. And he's still like that today.
He's still like that today, yes.
Now, you did one more year in the Can-Am, and then you retired. And you've devoted the last 15 years or so to your business.
Yes.
Now, next weekend, are you looking forward to getting back in this car again?
Yeah, I really do. I've got it running already, and we just have to clean it up a bit more and get everything.
It's been sitting in a corner of your garage.
Yes, for 20 years now, and anyhow, it started up right away. And
Oh, no kidding.
No, I'm not joking. I was surprised myself.
And now, over those years, you know, you're in your garage late at night. You're finishing tuning up my BMW, if I had one.
Yes.
And nobody's there. It's 9 o'clock. You look around. There's this beautiful Can-Am car sitting. Did you never go over and maybe sit in it for a
Oh,
couple
yes,
minutes?
I did. Yes, I did. A few times that I sort of, all by myself, sit in and say, that's been good times for me.
Oh, for sure. And a little reminiscing.
Exactly.
Yeah, well,
So I'm looking forward to Motorsport this weekend, even though I'm not going to go and set the world on fire.
well, remember, this weekend, because we're recording this just before the Father's Day weekend, this weekend is the NASCAR Canadian Tire Series and, of course, the Coney Challenge Series and some Formula Ford and a good racing weekend. And then it's next weekend, which I believe is the 21st, 22nd, 23rd, in and around that, where the Varac Festival, and this is a full weekend of vintage car racing, old sports cars, old Formula cars. They got some old Indy Lights out there. It's quite competitive, but you know something? You're going to be the really true only vintage racer, if you'll pardon me for saying
Yes.
that, driving a vintage racing car.
I'll tell you one thing.
71-year-old guy, and you're going to be in the Frisbee KR3 Chevrolet that you had wonderful times in.
And I'm going to be wearing my racing suit
You can still fit in it?
that I wore 40 years ago.
Really?
Yes.
You're still pretty much the
Yes.
same size.
Same thing, yes.
And, you know, your hair isn't much different either.
No,
You know,
that's true.
I mean, it's a little grayer. But,
Yes.
You know, we're all like that. Well, Horst Kroll, it's been a pleasure having you here today. And have the time of your life.
Thank you.
At Motorsport on the Varac weekend. And I know that a lot of people are really going to be happy to see you out there. And it'll be a great remembrance of great and glory days past.
I've got a lot of friends coming, so I'm looking forward to it.
And
Yes.
they'll be cheering you all the way.
Thank you.
This is Norris McDonald. I'll be back in another week with another Toronto Star Auto Racing podcast.